Yo, 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 how you living? How you feeling? How you doing? First Choice Fantasy, and we are back with our start sits for week one. We're going to dive into the running backs. Today, we got 2 each per person, and I don't really have anything else to say. We're just going to dive right into this. Keep your lack of attention span having asses in this video. Any words?
Now we're cutting.
Intro.
We're
We're
cutting
gonna
the
cut.
intro.
Cut right to the intro. Scissor.
I said, baby, I am not the one to play with. Ain't the type to give up, I'm driven and motivated. I just want some recognition and some compensation. But this ain't about the money and it ain't about the fame. I got lightning in a bottle, I think I just found my perfect sound. Can you see the fire in my eyes? Bitch, it's burning now. Lightning in a bottle, I think I just found my perfect sound. Can you see the fire in my eyes? Bitch, it's burning now.
All right, without further ado, let's dive right back into this. So, I guess I'll start. No, Alex will start. Alex, let's hear your starters.
Oh, all right.
Okay, I'm just going to name them both so we don't switch back and forth a lot. We're going with Austin Eckler and Marlon Mack. I like Eckler. There's been some back and forth on him. I think he's still going to be fine. I think, if anything, his role might increase a little. I mean, he has some talent. I mean, he's a talented runner. I know they generally use him as a receiver, but I would expect that to continue. So he'll get to work. Cincinnati sucks at defense. We've already been over this in the previous episode, which you should watch if you already haven't. Get on that. Came first.
Beautiful plug. I respect it.
Yeah, Eckler, Cincy, I think it's a pretty solid bet. My second is Marlon Mack, despite all the shit I've talked on him in this the lead up to the season here. But it's week one, and Jacksonville is currently fielding a defense full of guys you've never heard of. So, yeah, I like Mack. I think his role will probably dwindle as the season goes on, but it's week one, and I expect him to be out there. And he's still pretty freaking talented, and that line is still really good. So I expect him to find himself in the end zone at least a couple of times.
I agree with that Marlon Mack heavily, just because, I mean, game script-wise,
And then trade him.
And then trade him. Yeah, he's going to be one of those players week one.
And then trade him. Wait for him to explode and then trade him.
Yeah.
I wish I had snagged him somewhere just to do that, but I live and learn. I don't learn. Anyway, Ed, what you got?
Ed will jump into his, I guess. Antonio Gibson
more
is my
under the
first
radar here.
my first start against Philly. Antonio Gibson, I think this game might be closer than people expected to, so Antonio Gibson might not necessarily be the smartest play because game script isn't going to be completely downhill for him to just constantly get targets or something like that, because I think it's going to be more receiving back. Obviously, receiving touches are worth more than a carry, evidently. But against Philly, I can see him getting a lot of targets because the only other real target, I guess you could say, they have is Terry McLaurin. Obviously, Steven Sims is there, and obviously me and Alex, we both like him. But I would probably bet – go ahead.
Another thing to keep an eye on is that, like you said, with their lack of weapons, and if Gibson is going to be effective out of the backfield, that is something that our piss-poor linebacking corps are not equipped to handle.
Yeah, who is our starting linebackers now?
It's going to be Nathan, Gary, and T.J. Edwards. Which, they play football.
I know Nate Gary because I've heard of him multiple times, but the other dude, is he new?
Edwards he's an undrafted rookie from last year. He was solid last year, but he does not have the foot speed to be matched up with Gibson if that is going to be the case. Gary's a converted safety, but I don't know if he's going to hang with him either.
Yeah, he might hang.
Out of all the Redskins are going to have a tough time exploiting matchups on offense, but if there's anything that's exploitable, it's that right there.
So it's either the running back or the tight end that's most likely going to go off for Washington, if anybody goes
Jeremy Sprinkle.
I think who's going to go off is the Redskins' defensive line with all of their first-round picks, especially against our offensive line, considering I have no idea who our left tackle and right guard are going to be.
We're also he's sprinkling the top. Oh,
I'm sprinkling Jeremy.
Yeah, let's not be doing that. But,
Let's
hear this Sony Michel talk.
All right, so I wasn't all that confident in this one, but thinking about it, you kind of have to go with it. You know what I mean? I really have
You
a
have to
great
go.
explanation.
You gotta go.
You
with
have
it.
to
You
go
gotta
with
do
it.
it.
I mean,
You have to.
It's mandatory.
Oh, I got Sony on my bench. I got
Damn.
to start him.
you're gonna look back on that 20-point performance week 1 and be like,
Yeah.
oh, only if I started in week 1.
Listen, man,
But,
I didn't mind that pick. I wasn't
Uh,
totally against it. And plus,
I
Damian
just-
Harris is out week 1, isn't he? He's on the
Yeah, he
injury
is.
list at least.
Yeah. I mean, he should be. I mean, I don't think Damian Harris is all that good either. I don't think Sony Michel's good at all. I think you guys should probably know this by now. But it's against Miami. Not saying Miami's a shit show anymore, especially after I believe they beat New England last year or 2 years ago. I forget completely. But
They beat
Sony
New
Michel,
England like every year.
yeah, that is also true. I think Sony Michel is going to get a good amount of carries, which obviously aren't that worth that much. But I didn't know really where else to go when I wasn't going to cop out and do Miles Sanders or Austin Eckler like the other two fucks. So Sony Michel, just by a smidgen. So don't put your money in on this man. Like, oh, he's going to go crazy. No. He might get 7 points. He might. That might be all he needs to be a
Start
starter
him.
this week.
Start him with 7 points.
That might
With
be
a
all he
cap.
needs this week, man.
With a cap of 7 points. Start.
I mean, what are you expecting Sony Michel to do week 1?
I wouldn't start him. I'm not starting anyone for New
A
England.
good
That's a scary
start.
team right now.
A start where I'm happy with starting Sony Michel is probably anywhere from 11 to 14 points.
If I start him, if
That's
he
what I'd
cracks
be
double
hoping
digits,
for.
I have to be happy about it because I can't be starting Michelle. I need 35 from him this week.
But he can also get you 3.5 points just as easily.
Yeah, that's the
But
fear
not
that
just
if I
as
start
easily.
him,
I think it's
he
the
cracks double
spectrum
digits.
is leaning towards the I'm gonna get 5
Yeah.
points out of Michelle this week. But I can see where you're coming from with thinking higher.
I just don't know if
I
that
always
offense
like-
in Miami is going to be too hot.
I don't know if anything's going to be too hot in that game. I mean, the Dolphins spent a lot of money on defense this year, but we'll see
Yeah.
if that works out because it normally doesn't.
Yeah. What is
But,
going to be hot is Miles Sanders. As Ed said earlier, cop out. I don't care. Miles Sanders is going to have a heyday at the Washington football arena. It's going to be it's going to be a Miles Sanders show. I really think it.
And he better be working in the passing game because he ain't going to have any room to run.
There's been question marks around Sanders throughout the off season. I think this is going to be the game that's going to clarify all those questions.
I think so.
Yeah, so as we discussed pre-video, essentially the same explanation I had for Eckler, but
That
It
part
checks
I
out.
only added just because you said about the question marks for Eckler.
yeah, I could tell by that stupid-ass voice you were running with. So let's hear about why you think Singletary is going to be a good start.
Devin Singletary, New York Jets franchise is a failure. Just gonna start off and end with that.
That's a great explanation. What would you do if you were on NFL.com and just seen the Adam ranked start sits?
That's the beauty of this, Ed. We're not on
Yeah, you're right.
ESPN. We can say what we want, and the Jets franchise is just mediocre.
Also, you know what?
at
Let's just give it
best.
some time and see who's more right.
Hey, I was hoping
give it
the
a few
best for
weeks.
Le'Veon Bell, but he got sucked in.
I feel like everyone involved knew that contract was going to
Adam
blow up
Gates.
in everyone's face the minute he signed that. I
It's
remember
confusing 'cause-
exactly where I was when he signed that. I remember looking at my buddy and being like, why? Why?
Mm-hmm.
Why would
Adam
they do
Gase.
He threw
Adam
his-
Gase
Adam
didn't even want to
Gates.
sign. It was weird.
It's Adam Gates.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's hilarious from now because now that we're on the topic of them being failures. It is absolutely hilarious to me that you let your GM handle the draft. Or no, sorry. You let him handle most of the offseason. He and the coach publicly privately disagree on making a massive free agent signing. You let him go through with it, then you fire him before the draft. Right? Isn't that how that went down?
Yeah.
franchise is
How are
not
you going to do that?
good.
How are you going to be like, oh, well, Well, he disagreed with Gase, so we're going to fire him after the fact. We're still going to let him sign the contract.
And this leads directly into the Le'Veon Bell hate talk.
Oh,
Alex
yeah.
and I both have Le'Veon Bell sit.
This is a pretty straightforward one. He averaged 3.2 yards per carry
team.
last year. We're another year in the future. Buffalo is pretty much always going to be a good defense, apparently. So, yeah, I'm not buying it. I know Brandon is also not buying it.
Not buying it. Bought it last year.
Ed's also not buying it, even if he didn't publicly declare so in the list.
I want to say one thing.
What's that?
Look me in my eyes. Frank Gore outscores Le'Veon Bell week 1. Moving forward.
I'm not saying he will outscore him, but if he did, I wouldn't be like, oh, who could have seen that coming? I would just casually laugh.
I seen Le'Veon Bell was getting like second team reps in practice, which is also sad.
Makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I guess we'll move forward with Alex's second sit from the running back position. Let's hear it.
Melvin Gordon, because I haven't bought it since he signed that contract, still not buying it. And I just don't really think you're going to get great production from him. I think that backfield's going to be a bit of a mess. And if I remember correctly, Tennessee is pretty solid at defense. I don't know if that team will necessarily be a running team. They have a lot of better weapons in the passing game, and maybe Gordon can redeem himself there, but I'll believe it when I see it. I don't trust him this week.
I seen he had a rib injury, which also concerned me a little bit. So, plus
painful.
The fact that it is his first game with them, and the fact that he's been missing practices with his rib injury, yeah, I'm steering clear of that man week 1.
Who else are you steering clear of?
I'm gonna steer away from the Steelers. Well, not the Steelers. I'm just gonna steer. Let me steer away from Ronald Jones. Week 1, obviously, Fournette just got there and whatnot. So people are probably like, let Fournette, he's gonna get acclimated to the offense, and Ronald Jones is gonna take over week 1. Even if he does take over week 1, like have a big role, he's not gonna do much. It's New Orleans defense, which I have a lot of faith in this year. Ronald Jones doesn't really have much receiving chops compared to somebody like Michel McCoy, who I think is probably going to be used more on third down than obviously anybody. Their actual third down running back from last year, Agumba Wale, just got cut.
I can't believe they cut him over McCoy.
They cut Calais too, which was I don't know if you guys know who that is, but he's another like receiving back kind of guy. He's just like
probably more of a valid play than McCoy. McCoy is washed.
Probably a more valid receiving play than Jones as well, which is kind of hard to believe. But Ronald Jones is not great a receiver. I think they're probably going to be playing a shootout here. I believe it's going to happen. I think this is going to be a beautiful game to watch. And Ronald Jones is not going to be that beautiful to watch in week 1, so I'm going to sit him. I'm also going to sit another running back by the name of James White against Miami. Okay, so I took 2 running backs from New England, and I started one, and I sat one, which is pretty bold of me because you really never know with this backfield, in all honesty. I'm predicting New England to have a pretty valid game against Miami and take the game pretty early, obviously by having a rushing back for my start and a receiving back for my sit. I don't think, even if they were down that much, I don't think James White would get that many targets from Cam Newton. Because it's Cam Newton, that might seem wrong, but I just don't believe Cam Newton would really pass the ball that much to James White, say as somebody like Tom Brady did last year. I just don't see it happening. Obviously, this is just week 1. It's not the whole season, but like I said before, predict a pretty good game script for the New England Patriots, Sony Michel. So James White is my sit. Brandon, you want to touch on your second sit after you talk about Le'Veon Bell?
Already talked about Le'Veon Bell, just the lack of a franchise, pretty pulverizing to a team. So I got DeAndre Swift as my second. I don't know. Alex, you said earlier Marlon Mack will be relevant in this game. It's week 1. your reasoning for not making JT your start is because, well, he's a rookie and acclimating to a team may be a little bit more difficult for rookies. And I feel like the Lions have dedication in their backs. I don't think they choose to steer away from their running backs quickly. They take their time. It's a gradual transition away. I mean, look at last year. Carrion didn't start until like week 3. Yeah, horrible players starting ahead of him. It's just the team. They're slow at moving around those players, and I think Swift is going to be limited. And against the Chicago Bears defense, I think that is not a good pairing.
I'm not feeling either of those running backs.
Yeah, I agree also. Plus, DeAndre Swift was hurt. I think he hurt his leg. They didn't really explain what he hurt, but he's been out of practice. I think he was out of practice last week a couple times. And obviously, that's not really good for a rookie running back, especially in COVID season. So, I agree with that sit wholeheartedly.
Before we close out, just want to honorable mentions.
I love that call out.
So you said we kind of picked the easy way out with Miles Sanders, Austin Eckler. I just want an honorable mention. I think Mark Ingram's going to be a fine play this week against the Browns. I think it's a stout defensive line with Garrett, but I think the run game in Baltimore is going to continue its hot streak, and I think J.K. Dobbins will be effective in the future, but I don't think week 1 is the time against a divisional rival. Not sure if this is the week I want to feel comfortable starting J.K. Dobbins over Mark Ingram.
I'm waiting to see how that goes.
I think any rookie running back that isn't taken in the first round, other than CEH, but any rookie running back that's not usually selected outside of like the top 15 picks, something like that, I don't think they're really going to have that much of a role week 1, so I definitely understand where you're coming from with Dobbins. Jaguars, you guys want to decipher any dark horse pick for those? No, you don't want to? Okay.
Raquel Armstead?
Waiting.
I wouldn't
I feel like there's a decent chance that everybody in that backfield is going to suck.
I think so too, but I think Armstead, he's the one I would personally want to have.
It seems like every year there's at least 1 or 2 teams where they don't have a defined starter, and you're like, oh, this could be there could be some touches to go around, and then you look at the rest of the offense, well, the offense sucks, and the running backs are even worse, and then nobody produces from the backfield. I think this might be one of those years, one of those teams.
Yeah, they've been hyping up every single player too. I don't know how many times I've gotten reports about James Robinson's going to have a role in week 1, and then Devin Ozigbo is a 3-down back, and then who else is 3-down back? Somebody else. But
then why have they been cut by every other team?
Yeah.
It just reminds me of
because they aren't the Jaguars.
Like the Dolphins of a couple years ago, where they had 15 running backs in the game every other any given week, or the Steelers last year after Connor got hurt, who had a rotating cast of nobodies who were supposedly going to provide value to somebody.
Speaking of Connor, I think he might have a pretty good game against the Giants Monday night. But going back to the Jaguars, I do think Chris Thompson's going to have a valid game this week. I don't know if it's start worthy, but he could possibly be a flex play if you need to play him, but don't play him if you just feel like playing. You know what I mean? Because they're probably going to be down a lot. Gardner Minshew targeted Fournette a lot last year, and Chris Thompson's the receiving back. That's the end of that. So I guess
Alex,
we are going to – oh, yeah.
Does Alex have any honorable mention? You're good.
Yeah.
The face says no. Ed, continue on what you were saying.
I think Alex, if he had to make a decision, he would probably start Christian McCaffrey this week, as should you. But I guess without further ado, we can just sign off. First Choice Fantasy, bringing you start-sit wide receivers in the next episode. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Let us know what you think of our start-sits. Let us know your start-sits in the comments and whatnot. And I guess that's it.
Do you feel the football season coming on? Yes.
Week 1, motherfuckers.
Let's go.